think when this comes around, it's something that's out of sight, out of mind for 10 years. Then it comes around again. Maybe you could explain to us, why does this even matter? How's it going, Kittanning? Welcome back to the Greatest City in the World podcast. I am here with
Dr. Dwayne Lehman from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Good to have you, Dr. Dwayne Lehman.
Thank you.
We're very excited today. This is something a little bit different than we would normally talk about. Normally we're doing specifically Kittanning issues or county issues, that kind of stuff. But this ties into that. We're going to be talking about the census today. There's some very important information. There's some pretty good paying jobs available over the next year. And so tell us a little bit about who you are, what your job is, and how we got to this point here today.
So, let's see. I'm Dr. Dwayne Lehman, working for the 2020 Census. I'm a partnership coordinator, which we have a territory that ranges essentially from Cleveland to Erie all the way down to Greene County. So we have Western Pennsylvania and Northeast Ohio. And we have, within that territory, we have about 19 partnership specialists going out and establishing partnerships with your state and local governments, your nonprofits, your businesses, chambers of commerce, schools, faith-based organizations, a lot of your social organizations, to help spread the word about the census. And we have a simple message for this decennial census is that it's easy, it's safe, and it's important. And actually, this is a really big week for us. Beginning this week, around March 12th, is when people are going to get their first notification in the mail that they can go online and complete the decennial census. And that's where we say that it's easy, because you can complete it online from your mobile device or your computer or your laptop, iPad, iPhone, other mobile device. You can call it in, and then also there's the traditional hard copy. And so that's how it's easy.
Is this the first one that's been digital like that?
This is the first decennial census that you can complete online. So we're really looking forward to that, and we hope that everyone responds, and we're hoping that the majority will use this online feature to respond to the decennial census.
I see. I'm learning something already. I've only done one other census before, and I had to mail in the paper. So I'm excited to be able to do it online now. That's great. So you said easy first. What was the second one?
Safe.
Safe. Okay.
So all personal identification information is not shared with any other government agency. So the information that we take in is to create a statistical package, your ordinal, nominal, and interval data. From there, we need to identify you as an individual. We need to make sure that we count you once, only once, and in the proper location. But after that, we don't share any of that personal information with any other federal agency, whether it be ICE or the FBI or the IRS or any other government agency. There's no court of law that can make us turn over an individual's personal census response. And so it's safe. Talking about the online security, we're working with both private industry and our government agencies to ensure that we are up to date and most current in protecting that personal identification information that we are collecting.
And that's we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but I know there's a lot of people that really mistrust the government, anything that has to do with the government, that kind of stuff. But this is nothing new.
This is nothing new. In fact, conducting the decennial census is actually founded in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution actually states that we're going to conduct a census every 10 years. The first one was conducted in 1790 by U.S. Marshals. Obviously, we have evolved since then into an online submission form. But this is, I try to remind everyone that we're a government function founded in the Constitution. We are not political at all. We're just a government function. We are the largest peacetime operation in the United States. At the end of the day, there's going to be over 500,000 people employed to conduct this decennial census.
Oh, wow. Well, I for one am happy the U.S. Marshal doesn't come to my door and count me anymore. That's that's actually a big improvement for me from 1790.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we're encouraging everyone, beginning this week, once they get that notification in the mail, to complete the decennial census, hopefully electronically. But if they don't, they're going to have several reminders. There's going to be 3 different mailings that go out. The first one will be this week. National Census Day, which is important, and I'll get to that here in a minute.
Okay.
April 1st is National Census Day. They'll be receiving another notification, and then they're going to receive a notification toward the end of April.
Okay.
And the one toward the end of April will actually have a traditional hard copy in that mailing. And then if people still have not responded, we'll be sending out our enumerators beginning around the first week of May to visit people to help them assist in completing the decennial census, or encouraging them to complete the decennial census.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just to explain to everyone a little bit, I think when this comes around, it's something that's out of sight, out of mind for 10 years. Then it comes around again. Maybe you could explain to us, why does this even matter? Why should people do this? Why should they connect to it?
Well, I think the big thing is that the statistical package that we deliver to the president at the end of the year, and that's why Census Day is important, is we have to deliver our results of the decennial census to the President of the United States 9 months after Census Day. So okay. 31 December. The President has until the first session of the 117th Congress to look over that information, and then he has to inform each state of how many representatives or how many seats in the House of Representatives each state gets.
Okay.
And the census is the foundation of our bicameral government. The Senate being an equal voice for each state, and then the House of Representatives based on population. From there, it gets handed over to the chief clerk, and then they have 15 days to inform each governor of how many seats in the House of Representatives each state receives. And so I try to remind people that if they want their voice heard at the national level, they need to complete the decennial census so we have our voice in Congress, essentially. The other thing is that the federal government allocates more than $670 billion back to the states.
Oh, wow.
And that funds over 300 programs. So when you're talking about Medicare, Medicaid Part B, highway and infrastructure grants, a lot of your social programs, WIC, Head Start, all that funding is somewhat tied to the decennial census information.
Sure. So we want to make sure that basically, you just want to make sure you get an accurate count.
We want to count everyone in America.
If we lose a couple 100,000 people across Pennsylvania, that's going to equal millions, possibly billions of dollars in lost funding.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's not only from the federal to the state, but it's also state to local too, right?
Absolutely. The statistics that we create from the decennial census is actually going to affect decision making for the next decade.
Yeah.
And so and we look at some of our harder to count populations, for example, families with children under 5, or those living around or below the poverty level, which that population actually uses that information or that decennial to get their funding and assistance that they need.
Yeah.
We also have college students. We have our immigrant population, and a lot of those populations require some assistance or funding from the federal government. And so we want to make sure that we get an accurate count so the state receives the funding it deserves.
Yeah. And then I know, for you guys out there that are watching from Kittanning or you live in Armstrong County, this is especially important for Kittanning. There's a population threshold number of 4,000 that for a state fund, I think it's DCNR or someone like that, where if you're under 4,000 people, you don't get that funding. If you're over 4,000 people, you do. And so Kittanning is hovering right there. I think in the last census we were just over 4,000, and it would be a real shame if we have 4,010 people in Kittanning, 15 of them don't respond to the census, and now we have 3,995 and lose out on $50, $60, $100,000 a year for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. I attended a Kittanning Borough Council meeting in the fall, and this was one of the major points that they brought up is for that entitlement, we'll call it, for that funding. Kittanning Borough is right on the cusp.
Right.
And so we need everyone in Kittanning Borough to respond to the decennial census to ensure we get an accurate count of this population.
Yeah, I know one of people's major complaints about Kittanning, and really one of the major improvements that we've seen over the last 7-8 years, is the roads, the streets. And that money that they're talking about, whether they get it or lose it, is all of the money that's been going towards redoing downtown streets, redoing Water Street, redoing a lot of the alleyways and streets in Wick City that you've seen over the past couple of years. And so it's very, very important in ways that we don't really think about as we're filling out the census.
And so when you look at it, when you look at your emergency services, do we build a new hospital? Do we have funding for new emergency vehicles like ambulances or fire trucks or police cars? A lot of that information is based on decennial census results. Same thing when businesses go out and look for new locations for factories or plants or even storefronts. They're looking at the demographics of the area. They're looking at the population density, they're looking at skills, they're looking at other demographic information to determine where they're going to locate. And so and that decennial census information is going to last for the next decade.
Right. Well, very good. I think we've hammered it home on why it's important. Please fill it out when it gets in the mail. But I know the other thing we want to talk about is there's real good paying jobs available here over the rest of the year, and there's specifically a bunch in Armstrong County.
Absolutely. And so we're still hiring in Armstrong County for our enumerators, which is the major operation that gets conducted between around the first week of May through the end of July. And the enumerators get paid $16 or more. Based on location. There are several requirements. They have to be 18 years old and they have to be a U.S. citizen. There is a background check. You can apply online at 2020census.gov/jobs. It's an online application process. We'll be hiring until we kick off that program or till we get the number of applicants that we need in our pool. And basically, they will be our enumerators going door to door to assist people in completing the decennial census or encouraging them to complete the decennial census. They get paid from the time they leave their home. They get paid for travel until they return home. And so it's a pretty good gig. I've been on with the Census Bureau for almost 18 months now, and it's been a fantastic opportunity that I've experienced. But a lot of people who are applying for these jobs right now can use it as a secondary income or a catch-up income, and particularly here in Armstrong County, it was refreshing to see the amount of patriotism and the essence of civic duty still in Armstrong County and here in Kittanning. And I was really surprised a little bit, but really just I was appreciative of that sense of civic duty that people still have. And as a 20-year Army vet, that's really important to me. So
absolutely. I do. It's nice to hear that about Armstrong County, because we feel that as well. There's just a lot of genuine people here that are willing to serve in that capacity. And if you can do that, do a thing that's going to serve not only your city, your county, your state, but then also at the same time get paid good money for it. That's like a win-win-win.
It is. Absolutely.
And so if you're out there, you're looking, you said, so it's basically May, June, and July, or the three?
Correct.
Okay. So, but you can get full-time hours during that time?
It is. It's really dependent on the workload. We have a number of applicants that we're looking to fill right now, and we're going to start making selections based on the population and then also the response to the decennial census that begins this week.
So you'll find out and say, hey, we have potentially 10,000 people that would still need to fill this thing out that we think, and so we're going to need X amount of employees. And
correct.
Okay. Yep. Very good. So that website again, 2020census.gov/jobs.
Correct.
And I'll put that link in the description as well. So if you guys are watching this and you want to go on there right now, submit an application to be considered, I think these guys would really appreciate it, and you could pay off those extra bills or whatever it is that you want to buy that vacation home and you need a down payment.
There you go, yeah. Or save up for summer vacation,
Yeah.
or start the Christmas fund early. So
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
Make yourself an extra few $1,000s, or if you know anyone else, please share this with them. We want to make sure that we get the right amount of employees that we need to get a good count in Armstrong County, so that we can make sure that we have proper funding and all that kind of stuff moving forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, what other points did you want to bring out, or is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Like I said, people will be getting their first notification in the mail this week. They can go online beginning March 13th to complete the decennial census. That website is going to be open between now and the end of July. And then, if you want your voice heard at the federal level and the House of Representatives, if you want to ensure that this community gets the funding that is needed for roads and our social programs, then we need to complete the decennial census. And again, it's easy, it's safe, and it's important.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming, Armstrong County. Let's get out and do this thing. Let's treat it like we would voting in an election. Okay, this is a civic duty. This is something that's incredibly important for the future of not only our city, our county, our state, but of our nation. So participate. Let's get it done. And thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for taking the time. I know this one's a little shorter than normal, but quick and important. Let's make this happen. See you in the next one.